If you're new to the project, a big warm welcome. If you're a tough old root, then welcome back. Here on Steep in the Woods, we're building a small tower house out of used pallets. And in this video, we're going to frame in our second level using joist hangers we made ourselves. If you haven't seen that video, click here. It's time to start working on the second level, mostly because it's getting difficult to lift these pallets as high as they need to go. We do have what I think of as a really fancy ladder. It was very expensive when I bought it years back, and it's one of those things I love to hate. It does its job well, but I do not like it. But also because the walls are starting to get a little bit wonky, right? I mean, the height of them, the way that they're built, all of these adds itself to them not being perfectly straight at this juncture. So we're gonna go ahead and do our second level. To that extent, I've cut several of these boards right here. They are 20 inches. I also have some cut at 16 inches. And we are going to slab these on wherever there's one of these cutouts. So if you can see this cutout right here, we would slab this one on like that. That way we have a flat, flush surface to attach our 2x6 runner board, with which we'll then attach all of our joists to. So yeah, man, we just grabbed a bunch of these. We're gonna nail them up, put up our 2x6, and then start working on our joists. We got lucky. There's only 3 flat boards that are gonna interfere with our 2x6 facing board, our 2x6 runner. So I'm just going to climb up there and cut them off with a Sawzall. More than likely we won't be able to get the nails out, so we'll just hammer them flat, but we'll try to get them out first. So either way, this one and one over there. No way these are coming out. Whoa! I'm gonna save some of these nails. These literally came out of our house, and I'll use them for a craft. Alright, so here's a trick for getting nails out, even though I've probably should have got my ladder. Wire cutters. You pinch that on it, because all the heads broke off of these. And then, sometimes, haha, you can get the nail. It's time to go ahead and put up our 2x6. We've got all our facing boards, giving us a nice flush fit, giving us plenty of surface area to attach this to the wall. I've also got a screw on that end that'll hold up that side until I can get over there and actually line it up perfectly. So that's my helper, right? Little 3-inch screw, worth its weight in gold at this particular moment. But yeah, let's go ahead and put them up. And that's it, right? Hey, go ahead and attach your joist. No, we're actually going to go back, and obviously, me being me, we're going to pre-drill some holes. We're going to put nails in it. The screws was just a quick, easy way to get it attached in the perfect spot right this second. So, now we get our drill bit, and some nails. Well, I'll be darned. Guess how much difference there is 7 foot high in this pallet tower from the distance on that end to the distance on this end, right? Made out of pallets. Less than a ½ inch. Less than a ½ inch distance at this point. Both on these runners and on these. So that's pretty dang good. That is heroic, right? I mean, that is well within the acceptable limits for a regular structure. Much less if you're doing something like this where each pallet's bowed and bent and each board's a different size and everything. So we did good. Very, very good. Less than a ½ inch. Rock and roll. Now that we have our 2x6s in place, it's time to start working on the actual rafters or beams that will hold up our second level. We're going to be laminating these out of pallet boards. I'm going 3 boards thick. There again, as with everything, every other lamination that we've done, the entire dang structure is one laminated nightmare. You just take your boards, put them together, make sure none of the seams line up, and put a ton of nails in them. You can go as dramatic or as simple with them as you want to go. This one, in order to get it the correct length, I had to do it slightly different than the other ones, but the premise is the same. Nail a bunch of boards together and create yourself a longer usable piece of material out of them. So we have our brackets here. They're all cut. We made them all square. We knocked off the thickness that was here to make them flush. And it's time to start drilling our holes. Here are our finished brackets. This isn't all of them, obviously. This is just a couple, but they are done. These are finished, and you know, these are going to be hidden brackets. I will show you that in a second, or maybe it's floating brackets. I can't quite remember. But these are the strongest brackets you can realistically buy, right? If you go to Lowe's, they're not going to have a bracket as strong as this. Now that we have laminated our beams and created our brackets, if you've not seen the bracket video, that is a separate video. Click here, 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 somewhere, or in the description, go check out how we made our brackets. But what we're going to do is, this is our first beam. I've got a little piece of pallet wood screwed to the bottom of our 2x6 on both sides. That way we can pick this beam up and set it into place and have it actually be supported. At which point I'm going to, hopefully, I slip the brackets behind it, mark where they go, pull the beam out of the way, attach the brackets to the 2x6, replace the beam, and then attach the brackets to the beam. Fingers crossed this works. I definitely, you know, I have a lot of faith in our brackets. I have a lot of faith in this giant laminated piece of pallet wood. It's just, everything has been so difficult on this build. Hopefully it all lines up and works out. So here we go. Let's pick them up, let's put them in place and start working on the second level. Really, cat. So now we slip our brackets behind this one. And here. So we just need to mark our sides. This is centered. Yep. Centered enough. All right, those are marked. Pull these guys back out. That one's good. Look at that. Perfect. Perfectly perfect. Oh, nice. Just like that. Rock and roll. We do have some amount of gap, so I am going to go over here and ratchet this ratchet strap up. And yeah, we should be good. This one's good. Yep. Yeah, I wanted the holding power of as many nails as possible, but I don't want my beam to crack all to pieces. That's where pre-drilling comes in. If you'll notice this one, right? That goes to the center, but just barely. 2. I'm gonna show you guys a little trick, right? You probably know this. It's probably obvious to most people, but in case it's not, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. I'm cutting through this laminated beam here, right? Cutting it to its final size. As with everything to do with pallet building, you're gonna have to adjust it, right? And we are adjusting this one to the actual size that it needs to be. I left it slightly long, knowing that something was gonna come up, and it did. But either way, we're cutting through, you know, a large piece of material here. And I wanna make sure it's perfectly straight. The thicker your wood is, at least with a hand saw, the thicker your wood is, the more likely you can veer off track. So what I will do is I've got my square. Yeah, this one's ridiculously huge. I can't find my smaller one, but you put your square right up against it, and these are aluminum, so they should not damage your saw, at least not overly much. And that is what you use as your straight edge for cutting. Right now, with a pull saw like this, once we get down far enough to where we don't have enough surface area in contact with this square to assure straightness, what I will do is pretty much, you're looking for me with a laminated beam. It's completely different if you have a different beam. You may flip this over. Say if this is one solid piece of wood, you may flip it over and start from the other side and meet in the middle. But regardless, whenever I cut through this first board, what I'll do, and you've probably seen me do it on a video before, is once I cut through this first one, I'll lay the saw flat up against it and put pressure with it with my fingernails, right? And allow the saw to glide back and forth, keeping even pressure, right? So as long as your first cut is perfectly square and you keep even pressure on your saw on that first cut, your second one will also be perfectly square, and then you just repeat that for the third one. Either way, I'm going to get back to it. I'm ready to get this joist up. Now that our 5 main joists are in place, we've just got a few more things to do to get this second level fully framed in. An astute person may notice that the space between this joist and this wall is slightly larger than the other spacings. That's because we need to gain access to the second level. We're going to have a hole right here with a ladder, and that's how we're going to get up to the second level, you know, immediately. The overall plan is to build another room on right there, have a staircase in it, and then cut a hole in the wall right above you guys, so you'll actually gain access to this second level from a room that's not been built yet. So in the meantime, we got to have some way to get up to it, and that's why we did this. That's why it's slightly farther apart here than the others, just so we can physically fit. Now to that score, we need to have at least one piece of wood going from here to here. That way we can stand on this edge of the hole and it be sturdy. But instead of just doing one, I'm going to do 4. I think that will look better. It'll help tie the structure together more. But mainly it'll just look better. You know, one here, one there, one there. Right? And then that will tie the structure together. That'll give us our sturdy opening here in the floor. And then after that, we need to attach some pallet boards along the length of this 2x6 and that 2x6, so we have somewhere for our 1x4 floor slats to rest and to get nailed. So either way, we're going to go ahead and cut those pieces, put those up. We'll do the runners, and then ta-da! Once we do that, we can start continuing on with building our walls and then eventually get our roof. I got a bunch of scrap pieces here that weren't really good enough to use on other bits of the house. Like say this one has a big hole in it, but this section here is good. So I knew I was going to have a use for this. I would need a board this size at some point, and now is the time. So we are just using scrap pieces. We are going to laminate well, it's not really a lamination, but we're going 2 boards thick, so a double stud, if you will, even though it is a joist. One of them would be plenty, but if you're going to look up at the ceiling and see 3 thick joists, I think it would look funny just to have one single one. So we're going to go ahead and double these up. So I'm going to cut them, you know, measure them, cut them, and laminate them together, and then we'll put them in place. Surprise, surprise, I'm starting to run out of pallet boards. You know, and that makes sense. There is 5 million pallet boards in this little structure. The business where we get these specific ones from, they just only use so much product. So we are going and we are getting what they have, but I'm using them faster than they're producing them. So I'm down to just some really thin ones. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with these boards. They are just dramatically thinner than the other ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to double up the 2 facing boards here. I would not be comfortable with only this much material to attach our 1x4 slats to. So put up the first one, put up a second one, do that around the rim, and then the framing of our second level will be complete, and we can start working on the walls. And there you have it. That's how I framed in my second level using pallet wood and my own handmade brackets. The only thing we will lack, only thing we're going to add in the future will be a small lip made out of pallet wood that goes around the circumference of our second level. Mostly just to help disguise the fact that there's a store-bought 2x6 in our construction, but that lip will also help add strength, and we are all for that. Always remember, if you like what you saw, hit that button. If you're new to the project, hit that other button. You know, support the project, there are links below. Until next time, here, Steep in the Woods.